As an HR generalist, right, it is our key responsibility to work on compensation and development, compensation and benefits. So this commonly falls under our unit, our department. In cases where you are not able to, maybe the owner of the business, the employer, the CEO, if it's a small business, for a small company, yes, maybe the executives might be responsible. But at the time for implementation, execution of this program, this plan, it comes back to your table. So it's important as an HR practitioner that you know that this is your responsibility and then you own the entire process. Okay. In a small company, the HR generalist is the one who is likely to handle all aspects of the compensation and benefit process. While in large companies, I'm sure there will be dedicated compensation and benefits departments. Okay. But in case, regardless of what form of company or size of company you are working with, it is important that as an HR practitioner, you take this as your core responsibility. Now, in order for you to be able to execute your responsibility accurately, seamlessly as an HR practitioner in terms of compensation and benefit, please develop a philosophy, a principle by which you are engaging this HR function. Now, there are cases where, again, as I mentioned, if it is not your responsibility in designing the pay package, okay, if you are reporting to a supervisor, this information, this knowledge is going to help you as a guide in supporting your superiors, the executives of your company. If you're working in a large organization, and there are cases where as a work you're working in a small organization, you will be responsible. So that compensation benefit of sorry, philosophy, I mean, are the principles that will guide you, like a document that will guide you in designing both your compensation and benefit program. Okay. Now, this guidance will help you to make choices. You are asking yourself key questions like how much does this particular position worth? Based on what responsibility are we paying this? Based on what criteria or qualification requirements are we making these benefits? Okay. Now, these are questions that will help you in knowing what to appropriate what to, either the position or the person. So this guidance is to help you design a well structured document that will motivate all the talent across the organization. So this philosophy, this thought process, this principle is to help companies present themselves as an attractive employer. Okay. So an attractive employer who appreciates their skilled group, their talent, their employees. Now, this is not just for you as an HR because it impacts on you, your department, and on you directly. It also impacts generally on the company as a whole. So a fair and honest payment philosophy for compensation and benefit will motivate your current staff and will also help you to be able to attract other employees, potential employees into your business. Okay. So it is not just today about today. It is, it takes you beyond their duties in that business. So when they leave, they are going like they'll always tell someone else, "Oh, I heard you worked here. You worked at Lighthouse HR company at a time. Please, how is the place?" And then it begins to tell you all the good things that they enjoyed during the process. That is an engaged employee. Even upon exit, they become like your ambassador. All right. Now ensure that whatever philosophy or principle in designing your compensation and benefit program, whatever these principles are, must be lasting. What I mean lasting means that sustainable. Okay, so it's not just about today, it's about tomorrow, and it's what about the future. So whatever session or principle you have chosen to play at, ensure that they are fair principles where everyone receives equal pay commensurate to their duties and deliverables. I know there are some organizations that are most of their pays are based on negotiation and ability to sell yourself and sell your skill. But regardless of what model you choose to apply in terms of salaries and compensation, ensure that it is what it is fair. Because one key thing we have noticed over time about employees is that the moment they know that employee A and employee B know that they are doing the same thing, they are taking on the same task and the same responsibility, the same target, the same timeline, and they are being paid different amounts, and they have all factors presented to them at the same, but one person is earning higher than the other, of course, they will have problems, okay? They'll have problems relating to each other, even when it's not their fault. They'll have problems relating to the HR, okay? They'll have problems delivering on the job. Competition and environmental politics begin to take up when it's not necessary. There is strife, and then before you know, an environment that is not wholesome, in quotes, toxic, begins to happen within the environment, and we don't like that. So employees can be committed to equity, to inclusion, giving generously of their time and abilities to do a great work when our principles of compensation are fair, and are fair and true. So a compensation and benefit policy or philosophy or principle is that one document that provides a form of direction and guidance and clarity for the choices that we will make as regards compensation and benefit within the organization. And this philosophy of principle or document should cover the salaries of each position and the benefits attached, the budget on an annual basis. Okay, it will also state the principle, the end goal by which that policy is being developed. Then you are also stating your organization's mission, vision, and strategic objectives in line with whatever compensation you are giving, or vice versa. Okay, these key points are critical in ensuring that your document is wholesome. Okay, now in determining such compensation strategies, what should you look at? HR, your role in determining the practical approach that the company you are working with takes towards compensation and benefit for their employers is important. Take it as topmost, take it as priority. The rules and the regulation that are based on salaries, that are based on benefits, the position at which that company currently plays in the market. So for example, let's say in Nigeria, Lighthouse HR company, let me use Lagos Ibadan. Lighthouse HR company in Southwest Nigeria operates within this professional service market, and then we need to compare our services and our payment and salary, our leverage in the market versus other competitors. Okay, so HR, you must have an understanding of what your competition are playing at, what the market rate is, and then you also play fair. You are playing fair does not mean that you should break the bank. What that means is that within the confines of your budget, at the level you are operating with versus the other organization at the same level, bearing certain key economic factors inclusive. Once you have this key details and information within your on your table, you are able to create a fair policy that will help with compensation and benefits. So your executive management team, typically, as I said, in large organization owns the compensation strategy. The strategy means that what method, what model should we use to take care of our people within the organization. All right. So your executive, offer, they have a larger influence on whatever the organization budget is as regards compensation and benefit. So HR and compensation and benefit are to provide this key knowledge. Where you don't have access to this information, ask your top tier, ask your executive management, ask the top management. This is our philosophy, or do we have one at all? Where we don't have one, can we develop one? Consider all the external factors as well as the internal factors as the case may be. Now, in determining your philosophy, consider the kind of culture, because whatever compensation strategy you adopt, it will play a major in shaping the culture within your organization and promoting its value. If your compensation isn't overly huge and cannot compete within the market, ensure your benefits can. Where you can have all the wins, at least at the level, at the stage at which that your the company you are working with is at, where you are not able to have all the wins, the best compensation program, the best benefit program, one has to be better than the other. Where remember initially we had talked about the meaning of compensation that has to do with financial and monetary rewards, and benefits are non-financial and non-monetary rewards. So where financial rewards are a huge, okay, is on the high, and your benefit is also the best in the market, of course, go ahead as long as your budget is able to start it and maintain it over a period. However, where your budget as a compensation and benefit strategist or as an HR practitioner, where your budget is not in its height, so to speak, all right, ensure that your benefits cover up for the gap, pending the time your company is able to have a robust budget to cover for it. If collaboration of one of your core values is offering bonuses, to individual based on performance, you can also encourage that. Okay. So there are cases where your culture, where your benefit program will also ensure that it shows your culture and the priorities you place upon your staff. So it is important as an HR practitioner, you work with leadership to discuss whatever behavior you want to express based on your compensation. Salaries, benefits, they say a lot about the company and they say a lot about the employees. So there are cases where your funds, again I repeat, is not commensurate in the market. What creative benefits can you introduce to encourage the culture within your organization, the behavior of your employees, and the ideals that you represent within the organization? So in creating an employee benefit strategy, HR look at the environment and the structure of your people. Ensure that your people love the work that they do and they feel appreciated and they also feel valued. When they have all of these ideals, this culture, fully expressed, this will help you attract these employees, retain them, and nurture each and every one of them to become a winning team. All right. So this culture, this strategy plays an integral part in ensuring that your job as an HR is what is successful. So in offering the right employee benefits to the right people will help you to keep these amazing talents that you have within your business and give you a competitive edge above other businesses. So it is essential to align the employees' benefit strategy. That's the benefit strategy for your company, for your business, for the company you are working with. It's important to align this strategy, this benefit strategy, with your long-term or mid-term goal. All right. So again, I will say don't just look at the now. Don't just look at what's going on right now. Look at what you plan to achieve in the midterm and also in the long term so that it aligns also with the long term and midterm goal of that business. So think about what you want to achieve for your benefit program and how you will also measure success. Okay. So it's not just about dishing out the employee benefit, dashing them the money and the salary. Yes, where's the money to even dash out anyways? All right. So you're dashing them the money or just distributing benefits. Your question will be, how does this measure to the success of the company? How also does it measure to the success, the performance, productivity of the employee? All right. And in turn, what should match what? What form of performance do we require from this employee versus the compensation benefit? Is it a fair play? Once you have these questions answered, you are, at least this basic question answered, you are able to do the needful. So learn about the needs of your employees, find out what they want, find out what is ideal for each of them per position, so that you can offer the best package, at least per time, per period, on an ongoing basis. At the end of the day, you find out that these things appeal for them, appeal to them. In cases where you need to use data to track which benefit is being used or is required at that moment, so also so that it can, encourage, although it's unpopular, it can encourage a form of pivot, so that you will encourage a form of pivot within the organization. When I mean pivot, I mean what's popular, what's beneficial to the organization and to her employees, and then the unpopular, unbeneficial benefit in quote that is not in any form motivating or encouraging the performance of this employee, and then you change your strategy as the case may be. In addressing compensation issues, do not ignore any form of compensation issues in your organization. The moment you ignore this form of compensation issues that may arise as a result of implementing your strategy or your philosophy, you begin to have problems. And of course, the easiest way is exit. When employees, realize that they can't stay here, they can't work with you anymore, and then they leave. So once you ignore these compensation issues, it will quickly lead to an unhappy, unmotivated, disengaged employee, which in turn, of course, is going to affect your productivity, affect the productivity of your department, you as an individual, as well as the organization as a whole. Employee morale, goes down, and then there is increase in turnover, which every employer, every HR practitioner always tries to avoid. So this is why it is important that HR, okay, in charge of compensation and benefit, must be committed to ensuring that there is an uncovering, or you uncover issues as regards compensation, and then you address those issues as quickly as you can within your business and your company. So for example, there are different types of compensation issues businesses handle on a daily basis. Okay, we have such that are might be internal, we have some that are external. Some people even, a form of perception can also be an issue. They are not basic facts, or there are no basic evidence to prove that this is an issue. But some employees have this perception that you are not able to, you're not giving them the right compensation or the right benefits. So, for example, I have I received a call as of the time when this program was recorded. We received a call from a colleague of mine who was, asking me a question. He said, as regards, what is the compensation and ongoing rate in the market for proofreading and editing, this genre of books. And he received a form of project, and at the end of the day, the compensation that came with it was not commensurate. So he called me and said, okay, what's the ongoing rate for this? And my questions was that, did you initially discuss pricing? Did you agree on a specific price as to what should be given as commensurate value, or encouragement for you taking up this project? I understand it is somebody familiar, is within your circle of friends and all that, but have you been able to, did you come to a conclusion? So did you come to a conclusion? Did you reach an agreement as to how much this amount is going to be paid, or this amount should not be paid, as the case may be? And by the time we are done conversing, we found out that the my colleague never really spoke about this to his friend in court, and so there was an issue. So when a certain amount was sent, there was no, he was somewhat, he felt disregarded. All right, now the question is, going forward, he called, what is the ongoing rate in this market? What's the market rate? So we had to discuss possible market rates, what the market is saying at the time, compared with his location, compared to with the task that is attached to the entire project, and what he should pay. Call the attention of the client and tell the client these are his charges. With this, it will help. Now, this is just on the side, okay? This is just a contractor to a client, or a project manager or an editor to a client. Now talk less or talk more of the employee. If you say to your employees that they are not, or if you understand or notice that your employees are perceiving otherwise, it is important that you clarify every form of perception. All right, be it an internal equity issue or external company issue, whatever is perceived, even if it's a compensation that is wrong or a perception that is not correct, rewarding people within the job niche, within that genre of services or the industry or the sector, it is important that you are able to give clarification where necessary. Where salary growth will be introduced, also make sure that this is clarified. So please do not put aside compensation issues. Okay, so find out where you sit in the current market. I mentioned that already. Find out what pay scale or pay grade your business is operating with. Find out if it is competitive in the market, and if it's not, what can you do? What can you leverage on? All right. So bear these things in at heart. Then find a way of tracking your metrics. Find a way of measuring how effective your compensation structure or practices are in within the business. What policies are in play to encourage that your employees are being compensated adequately, at least commensurate to their job. Okay, so it is important that you bear all of these things in mind. Bear salary growth, bear the factors of salary growth, find gain understanding of your reward system, all right, that is in line, in accordance with the professional services that you're offering or the product you are selling, within your market niche, within the industry or sector you are working in, operating in. Look at your geographical differences. So in Nigeria, we're looking at Lagos versus Port Harcourt, Abuja versus Ibadan, all right? Or Kano versus Kaduna, Kaduna versus maybe Lokoja, all right? And then you are making your comparison, bearing in mind that there are certain factors apply in different region. Okay, consider executive compensation versus the junior compensation. What are the perception that people have, your employees have, about your compensation program? What are the external factors and the internal factors that play in ensuring that you have a sustainable program? So you plan your compensation way ahead of engaging these employees. And in doing so, you are to define and review your entire compensation philosophy, which also includes your policy, all of the documents associated with this. You are to do your market research, ask questions, find out what is in play in your industry, analyze your compensation internally, analyze your compensation data, look at what applies within your organization. Okay, ensure that your plans versus your goals are in alignment. Do not go out of the confines of the plans and the goals of the organization on the short term, the mid-term, and on the long term. So then start creating salary ranges. You might not necessarily fix a particular salary. From this salary to this salary, this is the range that it will cover, giving consideration to the policies and to the economic factors guiding the economy at that particular time within your environment. Then manage your budget appropriately. Work with the financial team to ensure that you are working with the correct and accurate numbers. At the end of the day, ensure that you monitor your plans and you monitor its execution. Then make adjustments on the go. Don't say that there's no one size fits it all. Okay, make sure that you make adjustments on the go. Once you have more knowledge, once your organization grows, HR practitioners ensure that you make adjustments on the go. I hope this is clear and you have understanding. If you have questions, drop it in the comment section, as well as on the community group, where you will have experts give you current answers that will help you solve your everyday compensation and benefit problem within the organization. Thank you.